Hello and welcome to Season 2 of the Hardscape Growth podcast. This is episode 1 and I'm your host, Alex from Techo-Bloc. Super excited to be back with a second season of the show. Our first season wrapped up with 50 incredible episodes, 50 awesome lessons to apply in running a business in this industry to grow, to succeed, to create a great working environment for your team, and to give yourself a leg up on the competition. Awesome stuff in those first 50 episodes. We're going to have some more great information and lessons to share with you in these next coming episodes, but I wanted to take a different approach this time around. I wanted to apply a framework or a theme to these next episodes to help compartmentalize the information in our minds so that as we're listening to the guests and as we're listening to the insights that they're sharing with us, we can put them in the right bucket of actions to take moving forward with our businesses. I felt this was important because as I looked back and listened to all 50 of those episodes again, I realized that there's so much great information and so much opportunity to apply the lessons that it can become overwhelming in terms of where do you start? What do you focus on? What's most important? What's priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 500, 600? There's so many things to worry about when you're running a business and trying to build it for the future that it can be very intimidating. So I wanted to have a way to simplify things and kind of make it a little more bite-sized chunks to take in, to digest, and to apply, and then move on to the next building block. So I didn't know how to do that, though. It's something I wanted to do from the beginning, but I couldn't really wrap my head around what that looks like. So on this podcasting journey, interviewing all these different people, I was picking up different pieces and starting to notice patterns in terms of what people focus on the most that has the greatest impact. And as I was talking to the different guests, I was seeing that those with the most experience had a bit of a clearer picture, which is totally normal. They've done it for longer, but it kind of culminated in what is going to be our first 2 episodes, or at least 2 of the first episodes of this season. It's a roundtable discussion that I hosted with a few industry veterans who have been doing this for multiple decades, who went through the ups and downs, went through the 2008 recession. They've made a ton of mistakes. They've tried a ton of things. They got a lot of things right. They got a lot of things wrong. And they corrected those wrong things. And they were able to share that information. And really, it became very clear in talking to them that there's 5 core areas of focus. There's 5 core values, 5 areas of expertise that if we focus on those things, things will be all right, because everything else becomes a byproduct of being focused on those 5 areas. It's something I decided to call the Hardscaper High Five. That's a concept that we introduced at this year's Hardscaper Showcase events, which, by the way, over 8,000 contractors attended this winter. Thank you so much if you were among that group of people who checked it out. And if you weren't able to make it out to your local show, that's okay, because you can stream it on demand for free at hardscaper.com. Pay repeat, Rick Bischoff, Mike Day, 3 incredible presenters and educators in our industry run through 3 workshops in the course of that presentation. One being the mechanization of the job site to help address the labor challenges that we're facing as an industry and to help boost productivity and empower our teams to achieve more and enjoy their work more and make things more fun. The second being everything, and I mean everything, to know about segmental retaining wall construction, how different soil types and site conditions affect retaining wall construction, the nuances of drainage, clear stone versus dense graded stone, when to use it, when not, all the things you could ever imagine with regards to retaining wall are covered in that show. And the third topic, the third workshop that we did was design principles for outdoor living spaces built with hardscapes. We talked to some designers who are just phenomenal at what they do. And they have some core rules that they apply on every design to make sure that it fits with their signature style. It fits with added value to the customer and really differentiates their company from their competitors. So it's how they win business is through design. So we looked at what they do well and how can you apply it. So if you didn't check out the show or you want to refresh on that information, go to hardscaper.com. It's there for free. But I digress. Back to the theme of this season and what we're trying to do here with these next couple dozen episodes. The Hardscaper High Five is 5 core values that all the greats use and they apply. They each do it their own way, but it's always the same 5 buckets of energy invested into the company. What are they? I'll tell you right now. First one is take care of your people. And I'll explain these in more detail in just a second, but let's run down the list. Take care of your people is number 1. It's number 1 on the list because it's the most important, and it's also the easiest one to do, really. So let's make sure we make this the focus of our efforts. The second one is know your numbers. Cliche, I know everybody says it, but you need to know your numbers. You cannot run a business with predictable results and forecast the growth and the revenue in year 2, 3, 4, 5, as you should be able to, unless you pay attention to those numbers. Build a strong brand. That's not a marketing thing. It can be. It's maybe partially, but more importantly, it's what is your reputation as an employer, as a business, as a supplier of incredible experiences to your customers. What is your brand? Is it strong? Number 4, add value. You have a set of skills and experiences and expertise and perspectives that put you in a position to add value in nearly any conversation that you find yourself in. Are you going that extra mile? And number 5, always keep learning. If we stop learning, we stop growing. If we stop growing, we're regressing because everything in life continues to grow. The only things that don't grow are things that never had life in them or are already dead. Otherwise, if it's alive, it grows. It changes, it evolves. We need to do the same. So let's break it down a little bit. Let's get into some practical examples. And then throughout this season, we're going to have episodes that focus on these different examples. So very excited to get into this. Let's go. Number 1, take care of your people. As a business owner, as a business leader, as a crew leader, you know how hard it is to get things done without the support of great people. Make sure to take care of them. Think about the policies and benefits that you have in place, the tools and equipment that you have available to make things easier on your people. Think about your onboarding. When you hire someone, what's that experience look like for that? What training do they get? What continuous education opportunities exist for your people? What career opportunities exist for your people? What's the offboarding process look like? Yes, I said offboarding. People will leave your company. Sometimes it's their choice, sometimes it's your choice, but people will leave. What does that experience look like? And how does it make them feel about their time with you? Those people talk, and those people influence your reputation as well. If everyone who leaves your company doesn't like working there and tells everyone how bad an experience it was, how much harder is it for you to attract good talent? So think about that too. Onboarding, training, ongoing training, offboarding. Making sure that your company is a great place to work starts with the decisions that you make on a daily basis. A lot of that is mindset stuff. Maybe you've heard of the concept of being kind versus being nice. Being kind is holding people accountable, being thoughtful with the way that you hold them accountable, trying to help them move forward, trying to help them get better so that they can more effectively play the role that you need them to in your company. Being nice is not holding them accountable because it results in a awkward conversation that you may not want to have. or it means that, you let people kind of break the rules a little bit or bend them a little bit because it's not that bad. I can make up the difference. It's okay. They didn't lock the gate, so it's okay. I'll go back and lock the gate. I'm just glad to have people working for me. If you're just nice and not intentionally trying to make sure that everyone plays the role they're supposed to play on your team and making sure that you're addressing conflicts in a professional and positive and motivating manner, that you're addressing challenges the same way. If you're not doing all that stuff, then you're hurting your team, you're hurting yourself, you're hurting your entire company, you're hurting your customers, you're hurting everybody by accident, probably, but you are. So it's important to be kind, not nice. Just look that up. You'll see some other examples of it. If that wasn't clear enough, but we'll get into it in a couple other episodes as well. Be thoughtful and always build for the future. The future for you, for your family, and for your team. And make sure your team members see themselves in that future. They see the roles that exist in the future and how they can stick around and contribute to building that and what that means for them down the road. If you're able to do those things, well, then you'll have a strong team for years to come. And when you have a strong team, that helps to attract more like-minded people, and that helps your business grow and scale. But taking care of your people extends beyond just the people who work at your company. And it's also the people who you may hire as subcontractors, or maybe you're a subcontractor for others. How do you take care of those relationships? What's your relationship look like with your suppliers, with different manufacturer reps, with designers in your area, with your peers? The bigger your circle of connections and the stronger the links within that circle of connections, the faster you'll achieve your goals because you have access to more resources. You have more friends that can pitch in and help and cover and offer you solutions and advice when you're in a jam. It's not what you know, it's who you know, as they say. And that's something that you need to keep in mind when we're talking about this first core value of the high five, which is taking care of your people. And then finally, last group of people is customers. Today's customers, but also your previous customers, potential future customers, and even prospects who aren't a fit. People who call you or who reach out, who are not a fit for your business. You don't want to do that work. It's not in your wheelhouse. What experience do they have? So those people still know other people and will still talk about you to others. So what's that experience look like for them? Do they feel like they were still valued as people? Do they feel that you treated them with courtesy and professionalism? Or do they feel like you just kind of tossed them to the curb? Because they'll talk and that'll hurt your reputation and that'll affect you. So take care of all people in your influence in that circle, and you'll find yourself one step ahead of people who do not, which is surprisingly a lot of people. Number 2 is know your numbers. I'm a little reluctant to talk about this one because it is so cliche, and yeah, everyone knows the reason a business exists is to make money. So those numbers are important. But, how many contractors do you know that went out of business in the last 10 years or 20 years, depending on how long you've been around? And it wasn't because they couldn't find any work. They had work. They just didn't have their numbers in check. They couldn't pay their suppliers on time. They couldn't get their materials on time. They're forcing customers to pay all materials and everything way in advance of the job. I'm not talking about the recent years where we kind of had to just to be able to secure product because that was what the demand was. But that they can't float themselves if a customer is late by a day on a payment. Managing the business requires visibility over the numbers, requires data that you can analyze. It's not just dollars and cents. It's also how many leads do you get it? How many phone calls do you get in the springtime? Are you up or down from last year? If you're trying to grow your business, do you have more leads coming in? Are you running more sales calls? Are those sales calls closing at a higher or lower rate? When you're looking at your crews who are building the jobs, are they building on schedule? Did you estimate the correct number of hours for the excavation and demo of that driveway project that you're working on? Are you on pace? Are you over that pace? Are you under that pace? And what impact does that have on the full season? How can you measure it? Do you have ways to measure it? Does your foreman know that he's on track or not? The numbers touch so many different things, and we're going to talk about it a lot this season, but you need to have a system, and you need to have the tools to track this stuff. And we have some partners like Synced Up, for example, who help with that. But it's not just the job costing and estimating and pricing of projects that will make or break you. It's all that other stuff too. Management of resources, management of time, management of leads, management of sales, management of costs, expenses, being able to set money aside to invest in the business. Most of the decisions you make running your company shouldn't need to be a coin toss, shouldn't need to be a guess. You should have the answers in the spreadsheets and in the reports and the dashboards that you build so you can make decisions based on facts, not on hunches. That's what know your numbers really means. So that's it. I'll leave it at that. I'll let some episodes do the rest of the talking on that. Number 3, build your brand. That's your reputation. That's what people think about you when you're not around. When you're not in the room, what would someone say about you? What would someone say about your company? What would someone say about your team members? About the way that your jobs look, about the way that your trucks look, about the way that you carry yourself, about the way that you handle conflicts when things don't go right. You know, why is it that there are some contractors who always have great projects on the books for months, sometimes years at a time? It's because they have a strong brand. People know it. Every good company you know has a brand. It's their identity in the marketplace. It's what sets customers' expectations before even meeting someone from that company. You know what to expect when you go into an Apple store. You know what to expect when you go to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. You know because these companies have brands. It's not even the marketing that they do. Yes, the marketing is telling people about what to expect and setting that expectation, but they built that expectation. They built that customer experience. That's what that's about. And if you can do a good job with building a strong brand, then you'll increase demand for your services from the right type of customer too, which will ultimately grow your bottom line over time because more of the right customers asking for the right services, the right projects from the right team, which is yours, will lead to the right revenues and the right profits. So build a brand, a strong one that is very intentional, very aligned with what you want to put out there. What's your mission? Make it happen through all touch points. Number 4 is provide value. I said this at the beginning. I think we underestimate the power and influence that our expertise has for the average person. When talking with potential customers, we need to take the lead in terms of asking questions, guiding the conversation, and proposing things. Not just doing whatever the customer asks for, because most of the time, the customer doesn't really know what they need. They think they know. You know. So own that part of the relationship and try to add to their experience. Think about ways that you can help them get a little bit more. Think about what's that little extra that you can always do. I think the simplest way to put this is nobody ever stands out by doing the bare minimum. Nobody stands out by doing exactly what was expected. They stand out when they go that extra mile, when they resolve a problem proactively. You're ripping out a project and you realize that there is some damage to the home. You bring it to the customer's attention and you connect them with one of the contractors that you know that can do that foundation repair before you proceed with the construction of their hardscape. Instead of just being, well, that's not us, that's not our problem, we're not going to do anything about it. Maybe it's a great example of one of the contractors you worked with for Hardscaper Showcase this year. In getting to know their customer, they knew that the gentleman, this was an elderly couple, and he liked to meditate. And it was one of the big things that really helped him in his later years was really getting into a quiet space and doing some yoga and doing some meditation. And although it wasn't part of the original intention of the build, when they designed the project, they noticed that they had a dead spot. And they turned that dead spot, which wasn't very big at all, it was a couple square feet, but it was just big enough to create a little meditation garden. So getting some nice soft beach sand in there and getting some nice smooth pebbles and creating this really zen area and adding that to the proposal. It doesn't take much in terms of time to add it to the design. It certainly didn't take much time to build, but it was something that really set them apart because they were focused on adding value to that customer's life in what they were building. Providing value is such an easy thing to do when you try to put yourself in the moment in every interaction with someone. You always have something you can give. You always have something extra that you can do. Everyone is unique. Everyone has their own personal gifts. And if you don't share them with people, then you're not adding value. You know, we've heard of servant leadership, and that's a way that you add value to the people that you lead. But even servant salesmanship is a thing. Are you doing what you need to serve those customers so that they get the best out of every minute of working together with you? It's very important. And when you think about the best brands, they always go that extra mile. Think about your experience at Chick-fil-A. You know, they walk out and they bring the food to you in that drive-through line. They don't have to. No other drive-through does that. But it's that little bit of extra that makes them stand out. And that ties back into that previous point of building a strong brand, because those are things that become synonymous with the brand. Those are things that people tell stories about when they think about the brand. So going that little extra mile, providing that extra value, it's win-win. Makes you feel good, makes them feel good, and it grows your business over time. And then finally, the fifth one, which is the whole point of this show, keep learning. In business, failure to continue to grow and evolve is tantamount to dying. The world keeps advancing. Your competitors keep advancing. Your customers keep, their needs keep evolving. There's always room to improve. There's always room to grow if you're willing to learn and to change. Every year, unless you're in the maintenance business, then you have recurring contracts. But in the construction side of this industry, every year you're trying to earn new business. And if you want to earn new business and more business, then you need to try something that you weren't trying before. Because if you don't try changing the formula, if you don't try improving, if you don't try adapting and evolving, then you're just going to get the exact same results all the time. So it seems kind of obvious, but the answer to more results is not always more effort. It's not just work harder. It's not just keep adding crews. It's not just sell more jobs. It can be a lot of different ways to get to that goal. And that's what we try to bring to the table with the show, with all the content on hardscaper.com and with the events that we put out there. It's really about trying to show you all the different ways that you can make the success that you're looking for happen. So yeah, that's what we're trying to do here. And that's going to be the theme of this season of the podcast, the Hardscape High Five. And I'll leave you with this. I think a lot of us have watched The Last Dance, that Michael Jordan documentary on Netflix. There's Tom Brady one too. There's a few others. There's the Senna movie, which is a great movie. If you haven't watched that, Ayrton Senna, F1 driver. Doesn't matter what sport, doesn't matter what field. It could be business, it could be the arts, it could be medicine. The best in each field are the most dedicated individuals who adhere to a strict set of values. They have their way of going through life. They are set on those beliefs and they don't compromise on them. They know what they need to do to succeed, and they always follow that path that they believe in. There's a reason why competitors were intimidated by players like Jordan and Kobe. And it wasn't because those players were obsessed with winning. It may look that way on the surface, but if you study the words that they would use, the actions that they would go through, the behaviors that they would display on a regular basis, it's not the obsession with winning. It's the obsession with putting in the work required to win. The dedication and the consistency and the obsession was what led to the wins. The wins were not the focus. The focus was the process. It's kind of like the expression, it's not the destination, but the journey. If you love the journey, you will reach the best destination. If you're just obsessed with the destination, that process and that path to it won't be nearly as rewarding, won't be nearly as valuable, and won't contribute nearly as much as it should to your growth as a person, as a leader, or as a business. So you really need to look at what are the things that we need to focus on in terms of doing the right things. And when you do the right things, you get the results that you're looking for, not the other way around. So the high five represents the core value system that all the greats in our industry follow every day. We're going to see that through these episodes. We're going to see that through the lessons learned. And we're going to talk about how to apply those lessons practically. So it's not just mumbo jumbo that we're sharing with you. It's stuff that you can actually put into place and make a difference today. I think if we're able to apply these things, we're going to see three things happen. One is your team will be happier. Your retention will improve. You'll attract better, talented people. Everything around running your business will get easier because not only will you have a solid roster with great skills, but they'll be bought into the vision and the mission and want to make things happen. And when you have a team like that, your life gets so much easier because now you can focus on the big things that move the business forward because everyone around you is focused on the things that they should be owning. You don't have to handle every single thing. And if that sounds interesting to you, then I think you're going to really like this upcoming season. Number two is your revenues and your profits are going to grow as a byproduct of all that. Great performance will be more predictable, whether it be the marketing campaigns that you run, the sales calls that you run, the results of what comes out of your sales pipeline into actual signed contracts, the designs that you pump out, or the projects that you deliver for your customers. All of those things will improve if we focus on these 5 core values and how do we apply them on a daily basis. And the final point, and I think this is the most important point, is all the work that you do will inevitably become even more rewarding, even more fun than it has been so far. So if this sounds good to you, then the next episodes coming out for this season are going to be right up your alley. Like I said, we're going to try something a little different. I guess it's kind of like my version of the keep learning, because if you're going to learn something, you better apply it. So I learned a lesson. I'm going to try to apply it and try to bring that to you to help you find success and make things just a little bit easier going into what is likely going to be a couple tough years. So I think if we work hard and we focus on the right things and we stick together, we're going to get through it. So that's it for this week. Couple episodes coming out every week for the next month or so. Looking forward to it. Thank you very much for joining me. Until next time, work hard, pave harder, and we'll see you next week on the Hardscape Growth Show.